Welcome to the Daily Items Winter Sports Podcast, a weekly look at what's happening with the Susquehanna Valley's high school and college teams. From Bucknell and Susquehanna University men's and women's basketball to all the high school hoops, wrestling, swimming, and more, the Daily Items Sports Team has the latest on the players, coaches, and teams to watch. Now, here's your host, Daily Items Sports Editor, Kurt Ritzman.
Hello and welcome to our Winter Sports Podcast. I'm Kurt and I'm joined by Todd Hummel for a special treat for me. Back to old football days. You just get me and Todd talking for 25 minutes. We're going to cover all the sports between the two of us today.
I'll have to talk fast. We're getting it all in 25 minutes.
Well, we'll skip the less interesting bits. So, last week we talked about Schick and Lucas Tilford coming back and what that meant to them, and then you got a chance to see them again in between the last podcast and now playing Warrior Run. What did you think of the Braves the second time you saw them with Lucas in the lineup?
Well, we're recording this on Wednesday before they play Danville over at the Field House. They've won 3 of 4 right now. And then Lucas didn't play on Friday night against Warrior Run.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he got hurt in the Montoursville game. Felt a little pain after the Montoursville game, and I was a little surprised about how bad that got. But talking to some people at that game, Montoursville shot the ball really well, and the Braves struggled. And on Friday night, for the longest time, it looked like it was going to be more of the same. The Braves really struggled for most of 3 quarters against Warrior Run, and was still down 7 in the fourth when they went on a 24-0 run to rally to win the game by 15 and ended up 59-44 as the final. And 2 big things that you notice with this Shikellamy team, of course, Darrell Lyles is huge for them, especially with Lucas Tilford not playing. He's their only inside, or one of their only inside presences right now. And I talked to him a little bit just about that comeback on Friday night and what it was like to kind of get on that roll.
I mean, were you guys getting frustrated at all there? Just it seemed like you had a lot of easy shots through the first 3 quarters that just weren't falling for you.
Yeah, they weren't falling, and I had to take the ball up. The ref calling charge on me. Luckily, pulled through the game and won by 15.
And I was going to say, what was that? What kind of happened there in the fourth quarter for you guys?
We just picked up intensity, started playing defense, take some of our layups, and start falling in.
Do you think, guys, this might be a little more important of a win for you guys, just the way, all the adversity you guys saw than maybe last week's over Selinsgrove, and just, kind of prove to yourselves that you can fight back from something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Because get more wins on the scoreboard. I mean, we're 3-10, now we're 4-10. And it's proving we're getting better every game.
And the other big thing about this Braves team is they're pretty young too. Darrell's a senior, Ulysses Mercado off the bench is a senior, but right now without Lucas Tilford, they're playing a lot of kids. They're getting contributions from 3 kids that were playing junior high basketball last year. Jake Hernandez is a freshman who's starting for them, and then there was a young point guard coming off the bench, a sophomore, Nate Luciano, and I talked a little bit. He only scored 2 points in that game against Warrior Run. He had 6 assists and 5 steals, I believe, off the bench, and was really a spark plug to them. And wow. I talked to him a little bit about what he's trying to look to do coming off the bench for the Braves.
I'm just basically trying to help out the team a little, like get them hype and stuff so we can get back in it.
It really seems like you really concentrated real hard on your defense, trying to get into the point guard, point guard's head and trying to really gamble on a lot of passes. Is that kind of what were you seeing something in their offense that you were kind of able to do to get your hand on a lot of balls like that?
Yeah, they were. I mean, we could have did that all game, but I try to. Get a lot of steals and help out the team.
Were you guys getting frustrated a little bit? Because it seemed like you were getting some easy shots, missing some easy shots, and then finally when everything started falling, it looked like it started to get a lot of fun there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Once it finally started going down, then, through it all, we got to stick through it as a team,
So how many times have you seen a competitive game where the losing team goes on such an incredible run that late in the long time you've been covering high school basketball around here?
I point to a district final, Selinsgrove and Athens, maybe 2002, where Selinsgrove, I think, went on a 28-3 run or something to end the game, where they rallied to win a game. But it obviously doesn't happen often, and Nate Luciano really sparked a lot of that, and Ulysses Mercado with their defense on the Warrior Run guards. It was really hard for Warrior Run to get in their offense, and they really created a lot of a lot of turnovers in that fourth quarter that got Shikellamy, which hadn't been shooting well, some easy baskets. And then once those easy baskets went in, some of the jumpers started going in, and it just started rolling for the Braves.
Okay, let's take a look at some other teams. I want to talk a little bit about Mount Carmel. 15-1 by record, the best team we cover in the others to watch in the Daily Item State rankings. Wednesday night, they're taking on another team in the others to watch, Southern Columbia. So I guess thoughts on that matchup and what you've seen from the Red Tornadoes. 15-1's a pretty gaudy record.
Yeah, I think they're a really good basketball team, but I think we have to wait until the playoffs just to see about this Red Tornado team. It's been bounced the first two rounds of the District 4 playoffs the last 2 years at home. Obviously, I think that would be a little tough for that to happen this year. That's the only area team with three players averaging more than 17 points a game.
Wow.
Coach Lazicki talked at the beginning of the season about how much that third scorer was going to help. And then these two games are huge. I mean, if they beat Southern Columbia tonight, again, we're taping this Wednesday afternoon, that really wraps up the Division III of the Heartland Athletic Conference for the Red Tornadoes. And they have an interesting non-league matchup again tomorrow night. They're heading down to Tamaqua to play Tamaqua, who I think has 4 losses in the Schuylkill League. So, Mount Carmel's beaten some real good teams. Their only loss is to Cedar Crest in a holiday tournament. I think most people around here know. Halifax is pretty good and ranked in Class A, and they handled Halifax pretty well in the consolation game of that tournament. But again, I think for the Red Tornadoes that they're pointing to this playoff. Coach Lazicki talked at the beginning of the year. They thought they had a chance, to win a district title, and that this is probably their best chance to match up with a Loyalsock team who has been rolling. And shout out to Coach Ron Ensinger, who got his 1,000th win on Saturday, the first Pennsylvania coach to have Pennsylvania boys basketball coach with 1,000 wins.
Wow.
It's been quite the week up there between that and Mike Bucina getting into the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
But, so yeah, Mount Carmel, Southern, who we talked a lot about Southern maybe right after Christmas playing so well, and they've kind of hit a little bit of a patch right now, but you can't count them out. They got whacked a little bit by Central Columbia, who had 14 3-pointers, and the way Central's playing in Division II, their only loss in Division II is Loyalsock right now. So I don't think we can count out Central Columbia in that 3A race either. So that should be between the two Columbias and Mount Carmel and Loyalsock should be a fun district playoff.
For those of you who are fans of our state rankings, I talked to Mike the other night. He said if Mount Carmel beats Southern Wednesday, Tamaqua Thursday, it's going to be real hard to keep them in others to watch instead of having them check into the rankings for next week. So keep an eye on that. 17-1 Mount Carmel. I bet they sneak in. So you mentioned Loyalsock, 1 loss this year to Danville. Danville's 13-2, still rolling along. What have you seen from the Ironmen?
I did chuckle when we talked last week. I said it was hard to see them, losing a game in Division I, and it was tied with Central Mountain at the halftime last Wednesday. But they eventually pulled away for the win, and they're just so deep right now. I mean, Coach Smith's playing 9 guys. A couple freshmen are really contributing. It seems that we talked about Mount Carmel with 3 guys above 17 points. Danville has, I believe, 4 of their 5 starters are, if they're not in double figures, are about a little over 9 points, and they probably had the best. They're probably the best at rebounding in the area between Harvard and inside. And Kozik and Peyton Riley do a real good job on that bottom part of when they're in that zone rebounding as well. I think it's now we got to talk about a little bit about the hack tournament coming up between these 3 champions that we're looking at right now: Danville, Loyalsock, Mount Carmel, and whoever the heck's going to be the wild card. I'm thinking probably Montoursville or Southern Columbia. I would assume I think right now between Montoursville and the 3 champions, I think that's 5 losses. Wow. Or no, 6 losses because Danville has 2 losses. Between those 4 teams, so that should be a real fun tournament over at Chick in a couple weeks.
Before I move on to boys basketball, I want to touch on
boys basketball.
Before we move on from boys basketball, I want to touch on Lourdes quietly going along, 14-3, doing Lourdes things. I saw Thomas Schultz had another big game last night, 27-14 or something like that, and they're getting contributions from a couple other guys that really seem to have taken the load off Thomas's shoulders.
Well, it's kind of a lull right now for the Red Raiders. I don't think they only have 3 games left. until the Schuylkill League tournament. I think if they beat Minersville, I think that game is next week. They should wrap up a Division II title and make the Schuylkill League tournament again. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they're the favorite, in Class A right now. Muncie has a I'm not going to say RZYMA, Noah Reisma, who's up near 20 points. So Muncie's going to provide a challenge in Class A along with St. John Newman and David Hill. But I think Lourdes is probably the favorite there. I think right now for the Red Raiders, I think it's how they want to get back to the state playoffs. That made it to the state final last year. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up with those teams this year because they don't have the same amount of size as they did last year. Thomas is their lone big man now that Larry Chaponis has graduated. But both Ty Camblera and Adam Sandry in the backcourt have obviously taken a big step forward. Both have up over 23-pointers this season. So I think Lourdes has a real legitimate shot to win a couple games in states. It's just going to be it's going to be interesting to see how they match up with the Sankofa the Sankofas this year rather than last year with a little less size this year.
So talking boys basketball and all, seems like the Heartland divisions are, if not sewn up, we have clear favorites. Not the case at all in girls basketball. I was just looking through the standings in Hack 2. Lewisburg and Warrior Run are both 6-1 after Shamokin gave Warrior Run their first league loss on Monday. So that puts Shamokin to 5-2 in the conference. So a nice battle there. In Hack 1, Danville at 13-1 overall, Mifflinburg at 12-4 overall are tied for the Hack 1 league. Lead in Hack 3, Mount Carmel and Southern Columbia, both 4-2. They play tonight in a key Hack 3 game. So I guess, what do you make of the parity at the top in the Heartland on the girls' side?
Well, I think looking at scores and things, I think Loyalsock on the girls' side might be the clear favorite for the overall hack title there. I think Mifflinburg probably was not happy with their start to their season. I think they've kind of righted that ship, and now Danville bounced back from that loss to Mifflinburg. I wonder, as we come down to it, as they go to the hack, if that's going to get both of those teams into the tournament. One is the champion, one is the wild card, because just the way that division has gone, I don't foresee one of the other teams knocking off them unless somebody gets lewd or something by Schick but in that zone. But yeah, Division II, that seems to be the most interesting. Lewisburg and Warrior Run look like they match up real well. I think everybody knows about Grace Kelleher, but Sydney Hoffman, the Warrior Run Sydney Hoffman, because Lewisburg has a Sydney Hoffman, is averaging 14 points a game, and I think that Warrior Run team might be a little bit of a surprise to some people just because they lost to, Megan Zimmerman was a real good player for them last year, and they lost some size inside the last couple of years, but they've really bounced back. Shout out to Coach McCormick. Hope he feels better. Looks like he's not going to coach the rest of the season because of dealing with some health issues. So hope he feels better. But I think that Lewisburg Warrior Run matchup there is two alike teams that want to play real good defense and hold you down, and it should be interesting how those two match up.
You ready for some wrestling talk?
Ready for wrestling.
All right. District duels start on Monday. Right now it looks like 18 teams are going to be in, so only 2 preliminary matches on Monday. And one of them it looks like Line Mountain having a home match. So the matches through Saturday count, so we're just going through Tuesday. And I can't believe Line Mountain would be the 16 seed, have to be in the preliminaries. So they seem like they're really good. I don't know. Maybe they have a real tough schedule.
Oh, they did their meet last night. I think they have 10 wins. I mean, that's just how deep. That's how deep the district wrestling is, and that's without a Midwest team that is has 3 losses, but coming off, Danville's the 3 seed. And they really did a number on Danville last week. I think you'd have to think that Midwest had a shot at going to states in the district duels. I think right now, I think Southern and Muncie are probably the favorites right now. Well, Southern's the favorite.
Southern's definitely the favorite right now.
But that 3 spot's wide open right now between Lime Mountain's good enough to come from the 17th seed. Mifflinburg and Lewisburg have had their moments this season too as double digit seeds. So that's a wide open field. I was looking at that brackets. Congratulations to Lewisburg's Dakota Snyder, who got his 100th win last week up at Montoursville. But again, I think you have to go with Southern. Gage Garcia was a champion this week at Escape the Rock. They finished 8th, I think, in a tournament with a lot of bigger schools than them. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, what goes on down once they get down at Hershey. I kind of have to pencil them in to go to Hershey like they have the last 2 years, and how they match up with a team like Reynolds, who has been one of the favorites down there, who beat them last year. I think those Southern kids would like a shot there. And
Line Mountain was the team duels last year.
No, Muncie. 2 years ago.
2 years ago was that state team duels.
And I think whoever gets out of here right now has a shot to go to Hershey. If I'm correct, I think you only have to win a match to get to that round robin 8-team thing down at the Giant Center. So, yeah. The only thing I wonder, has these team duels and people talked about when I was wondering about Midwest not going. This is extra time to weigh in, and some people kind of think that this doesn't help if you have individual goals for a state title down at Hershey in a couple, in 6 weeks. So it doesn't seem to affect It doesn't seem to affect the Southern kids the last couple years. But
Jarrett Lane.
Jarrett Lane's survived that grueling stuff. So just something to keep an eye out when you're watching this next week. I can't believe we're already at the door.
I know, it's crazy. One other thing we want to touch on in wrestling, and Selinsgrove fans, if you want to turn off a little early, I understand. But Schick Selinsgrove, last week of the dual meet, 1 point win for Schick for the 41st year in a row that Schick has beaten Selinsgrove.
Yeah, and actually, I think the best part about that match was, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures, was the great crowd they had over at Selinsgrove. Because that's something you really haven't gotten at a lot of high school events lately, is that kind of crowd, and really seemed like you had a lot of student involvement in the looking at some of those pictures. And it's a Selinsgrove grad. That doesn't surprise me that should beat us at wrestling again. But a 1 point win, and I really think that the Seals felt that they really had a shot at knocking off the Braves this year. And that Selinsgrove team's pretty young, so they probably think they have a shot next year. But that looked like it was a fun dual meet. Same night as
Danville Midwest.
Yeah, Danville Midwest.
And Dakota got his 100th win on that same night.
Yeah, that was last Thursday night, wasn't it? There was a lot of stuff last Thursday. He did not pick a great week to be in the Caribbean.
Well, not like there's a bad week to be in the Caribbean.
Well, especially this. Well, weather-wise, he picked a great week for the Caribbean.
But not wrestling-wise.
Not wrestling-wise.
All right, that's our look at Valley Sports for the podcast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.